All right, hello everybody, and welcome to the selection special live here on Sunday, March 17th. Happy St. Patty's Day to all who are celebrating, and we are ready to go. Just 8 minutes away from the selection show. Chris, how are you feeling as we are bearing down on the most nerve-wracking hour of the year?
It's pretty incredible how this is always kind of like one of those more stressful times of the year.
Yeah, I don't know why it's stressful.
I don't know why it's stressful either. I think we're just like assholes, but it's so exciting to see all the games come out, and then it's kind of like an information overload in terms of what you think is going to happen. Obviously the bets are a big deal, and I think this year, Joe, is we're going to have to talk off air too, because our betting this year has maybe diverged a bit than normal.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how it's going to, transfer to the tournament. So we'll see. But it's going to be really exciting. We've got a few minutes to go. And the one other thing, too, I wanted to mention is that I have created the tournament challenge on ESPN for the brunch. So for all of you listening out there, we're going to put out the link after the show, and you can join. It's a free bracket to join. The winner gets a special brunch prize. And like I said, it's free. Really no reason not to join.
Yeah, we had a pretty good amount of people in last year, so yeah, get in that as soon as you can. Brackets obviously are coming out in the next hours, so you'll probably be able to join that right after the show concludes. All right, let's talk about the 1 seeds real quick before 6 o'clock hits. It looks like right now Virginia, Duke, and Gonzaga are pretty much locks. I think the final 1 seed is going to come down to North Carolina or Michigan State. Tennessee actually probably could have been in this discussion if they wouldn't have lost today to Auburn. So which side are you on here? Are you on the North Carolina side, or are you on the Michigan State side? Michigan State just completed the 3-game sweep of Michigan.
Yeah, that is impressive. Honestly, I think I'm leaning towards UNC. And it's weird because normally you think, okay, this team, the Spartan team, just won the Big Ten tournament. You feel like a lot of times the committee will kind of be like, okay, well, either Michigan State or Michigan is going to be the 1 seed, depending on who wins the Big Ten tournament. And it'd be, relatively shocking to see 3 1 seeds in the ACC, which is what could happen. But North Carolina, I mean, they really just don't have like any blemishes on their resume. I mean, their worst loss is a neutral to Texas, and if they didn't have that, they'd be pretty flawless. Meanwhile,
Michigan State, 2 wins against Duke and 1 against Gonzaga.
Right, and meanwhile, Michigan State, who also has a plethora of good wins, and of course the 3 against Michigan is huge. They did lose at Illinois, and they lost. They got swept by Indiana, so which is not the best. And if we're looking at it from a straight net perspective, North Carolina sits 1 spot ahead of Michigan State. Do you think Kentucky has any shot here or no?
I don't think so. I kind of feel like Kentucky's chances came down to they had to win the SEC tournament, or at least win that game against Tennessee. Tennessee yesterday. It wouldn't shock me, but I think the consensus at this point is that they're out of that one discussion. They don't have the I don't know. I feel like North Carolina and Michigan State have those huge wins, and they have multiple, whereas Kentucky really, I mean, they have North Carolina and then they have Tennessee. That's it. I mean, there's really nothing else here. So I feel like Kentucky, with the lack of wins, is what's keeping them from the 1 line.
Yeah, they've got a couple that are like good, but maybe not the elite kind of wins you would get. So let's say theoretically Virginia, UNC, Gonzaga, and Duke are the 1 seeds. I would say the 2 seeds are probably, I feel like they're pretty set, right? We're going to get Michigan State, Michigan, Kentucky, and, well, actually the last 2 seed will be interesting because, it'll probably come down to Tennessee, Texas Tech,
LSU in there. Yeah. I think it's still going to go to Tennessee, though.
Yeah. I mean, it is interesting, actually, because the Big 12, they have a shot of not even getting
no one in there.
Line. So we'll see it. We'll see how that goes.
All right, let's take a look at the bubble. We got 4 minutes to go here before the selection show begins.
There we go.
Obviously they're going back to their original format here, but the selection show, they usually get right into it. Like, it's probably going to be a 2-3 minute intro, and then we're probably going to have brackets coming out. So real quick, let's get to the bubble. Right now, I look at Bracket Matrix, which is kind of like a consensus of everyone's bracketology, and it looks like the last tier of teams that are probably safe are like Washington, VCU, Florida, And then I think maybe Oklahoma is okay too. I'd like to put a star next to them though, because personally, I'd like to see Oklahoma not in this field. But then it looks like the real legitimate bubble teams that are last teams in look to be TCU, Arizona State, Ohio State, St. John's, Temple. I think those 5 are the 5 that right now I'm seeing are in, but those are right on the bubble. And then the ones that are out, NC State, Belmont, Indiana, Clemson, Texas, Greensboro, Creighton, Alabama. You got all those teams. So, I mean, of all of those, I guess, what are your 5 that you're putting in?
Ooh, it
looks like there are 5 open up for grab spots at this point.
You just gave me like 15 teams.
I know.
But, let's see. Well, let me go off by saying a couple of teams I think TCU is in. I think they're good. And I think they lost to Kansas State on neutral to end their season. Not terrible. I think Arizona State might be out. Now that
I hope they are. I mean, their resume is not very good.
Two bid Pac-12. That's just fine. And losing to Oregon, I don't think they could really
Oregon took their spot. That's
exactly. Yeah. I think Temple is out. Honestly, Temple losing to Wichita in the AAC tournament was pretty terrible. I mean, I think there could definitely be some riggery to get Fran in there. This is tough because I really, really would love to see Belmont in the tournament. I still think that, they're probably out, but the softer, the teams you kind of just gave me, the soft, it's not a super strong bubble there. And I think that maybe they do have a shot. I kind of think Indiana's out. I mean,
I think Indiana's out too. They had to win that game against Ohio.
They're real close, but I think they're out. I think Oklahoma is in.
Kind of upsetting though that Oklahoma's in. What have they done this year, really?
I do think that the NC State Clemson ACC tournament game, that was a play-in game, so I think Clemson will be out and the Wolfpack will be in. Who else am I missing here?
St. John's.
Ooh, St. John's. I mean, I'm going to say
really faded.
You know what? They did, and I'm going to say I think St. John's. I mean, they're 72 in the net.
Seems like the consensus is that they're going to be going to Dayton this week.
But why would say that?
Why are we not going to let Belmont do that instead of St. John's? I mean, I feel like give Belmont the shot.
Belmont's definitely a better team than St. John's. Excuse me. I think even if you look at just Ken Palm's rankings, they're like 20 spots higher.
Right.
So and they're 20 spots higher in the net. So it actually would be a kind of a crime. I think this actually. We might be talking about potentially the last spot in the tournament between Belmont and St. John's.
Yeah, that could be what it comes down to. And to be honest with you, I mean, I think that what the first 4 was created for was to give these mid-major teams one last shot. Can you beat the power school to get in?
Right.
Put Belmont against TCU and see what happens. I mean, why do we have to put St. John's in there?
Right. And
they had their shot.
I think St. John's definitely has the better wins, but I think also, Belmont's couple bad losses might be evened out by St. John's. I mean, they lost to DePaul twice. They've got a loss against Georgetown, a couple iffy, questionable losses. I mean, they did lose that Georgetown game at home. So, yeah, I think, with the net, then normally I think that Belmont would probably be out and St. John's would be in this situation. But I think the net might be the great equalizer. And honestly, I mean, looking at these two teams, if you really are going to heavily weigh this net, this is the perfect time to do it.
Yeah. I mean, just looking at this, the net is really crazy because even after that whole discussion we just had, the highest team in the net of all those bubble teams that I just read off was NC State. And NC State is one of the ones you just wrote off. Actually, no. Sorry, you didn't write them off. Clemson you wrote off. Yeah. And Clemson is only 2 spots below NC State in the net. And then, the next one is actually Furman, who I didn't even say just now. So, the net wants, it seems like, some of these teams that are being considered out to be in. But as I say this, Greg Gumbel has just flashed on my television.
Hi, Greg.
Chris.
Here he is.
So it looks like we are moments away from seeing some sort of bracket. I have my TV on extreme low volume right now, so I can't hear really what they're saying.
Yeah, I've got a little low too, and I would say if you're listening to our show, mute the TV and listen to us.
Yeah, there's no reason to listen.
Joe, quick update. Ellen Boston tweets, "It is now time to fuck the mid majors over selection." So we are here.
So we're we're 100% here to keep you posted on how those mid-major at-larges are faring.
You'll get our raw reaction to what gets announced, and as the guys, I know they analyze very quickly on the show. We will analyze as well, and we will also during the commercial breaks talk about some of the matchups and what we're seeing. But here we go.
So Duke got the overall one.
It looks like. Yep, that makes sense. I think Virginia may have had an argument with them, but the fact that Duke swept them, I can see why. And Duke winning the ACC tournament, I think, put them over the edge. So that makes sense. Duke is the most talented team in the country, best team in the country, number one in the East.
So they're not doing the 4-1s here; they're going straight into the bracket.
All right. Oh, well, this is a big time for Seton Hall right now because I do not want Seton Hall here.
Here's your North Dakota State.
Okay. So whoever this is a sacrificial lamb to Duke. I think North Dakota State probably wins that game. I think they're decent.
They're better than NC Central for sure.
Yeah,
but
I think they're a little better than your normal 4 or VCU. Yikes!
VCU.
If this is Seton Hall, this is the biggest bullet. Come on, don't give me the Hall. Don't do it to me.
Oh man, what a defensive struggle there. Jeez.
Okay, that's a big bullet dodge. VCU UCF, that's going to be an interesting game. And
we got power ratings on this game, baby.
This is great. This is perfect. We can bet on this game. Oh, man. What's your power rating on VCU? What do you have?
I think they're at an 8 for me.
Yeah, I think UCF's around like a 7.5. So we might have
a good game. Mississippi State, a vulnerable 5, I think, depending on who the 12 is.
I think Mississippi State is maybe a little more overlooked team. I think they're undervalued. Played well in a good SEC, and they've had a lot of good guys back, but they're playing Liberty as a 12 seed. Interesting to see Liberty that high, and Liberty's not going to be an easy game. Absolutely
Bracket
not.
Matrix did have Liberty at a 12, and then Virginia Tech at a 4. So, I mean, I think Virginia Tech should be pretty upset proof. But
is Justin Robinson good or is he not?
No, I don't think he's going to play. But they've looked pretty good without him.
Yeah, we'll see. Well, let's see who their 13 seed is because
the 13s are kind of tough.
And they're in San Jose, so it's not close. It's St. Louis.
I can't see St. Louis beating them.
I was going to say, I think you know the A10 better than I do, but I was thinking if the A10 gets that winner, St. Bonaventure, St. Louis,
here's your shot. Here we go. Let's get our first upset of the day. Who's going to beat Maryland?
Maryland is the 6th seed here in Jacksonville, Florida, and the 11th seed. Who we got here, Greg?
Oh, there's Belmont. Chris.
Oh, let's go,
baby. Yes. Belmont has made it into the field of 68. I'm happy for Belmont.
So
I'm confused at this point, though. Temple is also in now. So one of these major conference schools is not going to get in, whether it's Arizona State, St. John's, Ohio State.
Belmont getting in. This is big for the net. And I think whichever team wins this playing game definitely has a decent shot to beat Maryland. And I think Belmont is the better team. I would LSU is number 3. I would say my power ratings have Belmont about a point or so higher than Temple, but it might be a bit higher.
That is a very good playing game. I'm surprised they put them against each other, though. I thought they'd make them.
Yeah. Yale impressed me.
Yale's a tough 14, man.
Yeah, Yale is tough 14. I think LSU is going to have. I think it helps that they're healthy, but the whole Will Wade thing is going to be a problem. And Yale's a pretty good team. Louisville is a 7. Wow.
Yeah. I think.
Yeah, I understand.
Had them at a 7.
I understand they have fallen apart as the years gone on, but still a very talented team. 18 in Ken Palm. They're going to get a 10 seed here.
Minnesota.
Interesting.
Okay. So Minnesota's lower than people thought, I believe. I think people thought they'd be higher with that.
I'm not quite sure how I feel about this Minnesota team. First look at this. First gut reaction, I think Louisville is probably the pick here.
Okay, so Michigan State did get the 2. So Michigan State, to me, that bottom half of the region is not overly threatening.
No, yeah, that's the thing. I think Michigan State's got a decent draw here,
but they're in Duke's region, so what an Elite 8 matchup that could be.
Yeah, I know. That's what that might be what we're all expecting here.
Yeah, I mean, again, we try to.
I think the bottom half of this region could get a little crazy. Aside from obviously I think this Maryland, Belmont, LSU, Yale pod is going to be interesting.
I thought that Bradley shouldn't really be a problem for Michigan State, but I thought Minnesota. Why are Minnesota and Michigan State in the same pod? I thought you couldn't be in the same pod with your same conference.
Well, I think it's just that you can't play in first round. Maybe I think maybe they had to abolish that because of depending on how many teams you get in the conference. Big Ten's gonna have a good amount of teams. So
yeah, that's interesting. Though I think they still try to avoid it usually, but not here.
All right. So what do we see here? Duke. You can't see. This is actually a pretty. I feel like easy. pretty easy region for
Outside
Duke.
of the 1s and 2s here.
Yeah,
Oh, I don't want to count out LSU yet, but yeah, for the top half, I think Duke's okay here.
yeah. Top half here, I think Duke's okay. I think UCF, VCU. Probably sounds like with our power ratings.
VCU's pretty good though, Chris.
Well, didn't they just lose one of their best players?
Yeah, it's going to depend on if he plays. Marcus Evans got hurt in
so.
conference tournament.
So we talked about Virginia Tech, St. Louis. We don't really see it there. You know more about St. Louis than I do, but I'm not sure about Virginia Tech. I think Yale's got a shot. I really do.
That's one I'm going to have to analyze more, but I don't know. I mean,
it'll be
athleticism for LSU. There is.
I also don't really think if Belmont beats Temple, I don't think I have a choice whether or not to pick them against Maryland. I think I just kind of have to. The Louisville Minnesota game, I don't really see the winner getting any further. But it'll be interesting to see because Louisville has kind of closed the year pretty poorly, only beating Notre Dame in the past month.
I got a text from Oriolo. He says, great draw for Duke.
I mean, he has a point, although, Joe, watch out for those Rams.
Yeah, I think if you're looking at that top half of the region, VCU might be the most threatening team to Duke. Unless, I don't know, maybe I'm underrating Mississippi State. Maybe they're better than I think they are.
The problem is, though, is that the teams that beat Duke are going to have the athleticism. And honestly, I think UCF might have that. So, I think there is a chance that Duke at least is pushed a little bit before the Sweet 16, but you can't really see it. All right, so
who was the 13 in that region? I'm trying to fill in like a little bracket here. Who's playing Virginia Tech?
That was St. Louis.
Okay, and who was the 12?
Liberty. So let's get into some of the thoughts we have here.
Well, we were just talking bubble, and now we just knocked two teams off the bubble.
Belmont is in, Temple is in. That's big. I'm honestly shocked that Temple is in.
But, Belmont was more I thought more deserving.
I was ready for Belmont to be out. So I think I'm very happy to see them in. I think they beat Temple. Actually, let me pull up my power ratings right here. But
based on those two bubble teams getting in, though, who should be really, really holding their breath and concerned?
Well, I think St. John's, Arizona State, those kind of teams. I think they're in a bit of trouble. But I think it's going to be a good good playing game, exciting playing game. I'm not sure what's going on with Nick Masinski for Belmont, and he'll be key for the Bruins to want to have to beat Temple and then get to Maryland. Maryland is just your classic.
Chris, you may have timed out here. You just froze on me. Not good timing though. So we're gonna roll on here. Try to get Chris back on. At least it happened during a commercial break. We're now anticipating bracket number 2, which this will be the same side as Duke's. So we'll see who they could potentially match up against if they get to the Final Four. We'll try to get Chris back on here. We are in commercial break after the first region has been announced. Duke and Michigan State, the top 2 seeds in the region. And it looks like, the region is definitely winnable for both of those two teams. It looks like those are going to be the clear-cut 2 favorites. And obviously, there is a lot more that will probably happen between now and the time that those 2 teams would ultimately match up in the Elite Eight. So I can't necessarily say that, you should pencil in Duke, Michigan State Elite Eight matchup, but those 2 teams are really, really good. So we are looking like we are getting close to the second region reveal here. And again, we are keeping you updated on the bubble teams as well. Temple and Belmont getting in to the field, and they were definitely right on the bubble. Let's see now who the next region is going to be, who the number 1 seed is going to be. It is going to be Virginia. Now let's see if this is the same side as Duke. I don't know if that is a definite. Now that Michigan State is the 1, though, is the 2, and then this is not the same side as Duke. So Virginia is on the opposite side of Duke. So it looks like they're probably the number 2 overall seed. Now the all important 16 seed against Virginia, who will it be? It'll be Gardner Webb. You know what I'd say to people here? Trust Virginia in round 1. I can't really. I think that it's going to be a common joke, a common trend for people to want to maybe. I'm not going to say people are going to take them and take the 16 over the 1 again, but Chris, I see you're back on. No problem. Yeah. I was just trying to tell people, please don't take Gardner Webb over Virginia this year.
But little technical difficulties. I am back, and not terrible timing because we just went through the commercial break. Now we got Ole Miss as the 8th seed.
That's a pretty good 8 there.
Yeah, so, I think so too. Ole Miss, Oklahoma. That's this first glance. I would say Ole Miss seems good. Interesting coaching matchup: Lon Kruger and Kermit Davis. That's. Do you think either of these teams has anything for Virginia, or
I don't know. I mean, maybe Ole Miss. I could see maybe Ole Miss getting hot. Here's an interesting team for Virginia in a potential Sweet 16 matchup.
God, it's gonna be an ugly game. Just slow. Joe, what are your thoughts on betting Virginia against the spread in the first game, thinking they're just going to kill Gardner Webb?
That's not a bad call. Depending,
does seem like a popular pick. Ooh, Oregon, Joe. Have we had?
Wow.
I feel like we've had Wisconsin, Oregon before, with Oregon as the lower seed, and Oregon upset Wisconsin. I think Oregon. I think Oregon's good. I think that they're coming out at the right time, and Wisconsin. This is a tough draw for them.
And Kansas State, another good team. So now, Chris, this is shaping up to be a potential region of death here.
This is. I agree. This is a tough region. I mean, Ole Miss is an 8. You have Oregon as a 12. Wisconsin there. It's definitely better than the last region right now. And Kansas State. Joe, by the way, Seton Hall avoiding Duke of Virginia. Let's go. San Jose. We got Kansas State. Who are we playing in the 13?
Kansas State, I guess, would be considered vulnerable, and UC Irvine. All right, another defensive team. That could be a tough game.
Yeah, that could be a tough game. I think Irvine's definitely, they kind of strolled through the Big West this year. They won 30 games, and you don't win that by accident. They're pretty good.
And by the way, Kansas State just announced today it's probably unlikely Dean Wade's going to play in the tournament. So
I think that kind of pod right there is going to be pretty unpredictable, but also dangerous if Virginia gets to the other end of it.
Yeah, 100%.
Villanova is a 6th seed here in Hartford, Connecticut, so that's a good location for them, I'd say.
Let's see what's in Villanova's region here. I'm interested because Villanova, I'm not sure what I want to do with them yet. I think it's kind of going to be determined by who else is in their pod here. So very interesting pod coming up.
Thought they might get the 5 seed after beating the Hall last
night. Here comes an 11. This could be another at large. No, it's not. It's St.
Mary's. Okay, well, I don't think that's going to be an easy game for Villanova. I'd probably still lean the Wildcats, but it's definitely definitely gonna be a tough game. Yeah, another 2 good defenses here. Probably a slower paced game. But I think
very disciplined teams. Not many turnovers in that game. It's going to be a nice half court.
The Wildcats should be okay there.
All right, so no, that's still an auto bid there. Purdue gets the 3.
Purdue.
What do you really don't know what to think about Purdue.
I don't know. I mean, they're a top 10 team in KenPom, and they've but
it's like, just a perennial choke job.
Why do you lose to Minnesota? Why do you lose to Minnesota? Jeff Jones and Old Dominion. I mean, I could see it here. How is Old Dominion's size for Purdue?
Old Dominion could definitely body up. They're very good on the boards.
I think this could be a potential upset. Cincinnati is on the board. I thought Cincinnati might be maybe a 6 after beating Houston. I still don't think Cincinnati is very good. I think that this was kind of a game that they were going to get Houston, and I think Houston is going to get overlooked in this.
Who do you think the 2 is going to be here?
I guess maybe we'll get Iowa.
Where the hell was that? Oh, okay, Iowa. All right, so Iowa's lower than I thought they were going to be.
Yeah, I mean, I probably lean Iowa there. I don't really love.
Yeah, the problem is Iowa physical enough to
and that's the thing. I think Cincinnati might have like a bit of a match. Tennessee is the 2.
To be honest with you, Chris, I think that's a favorable 2 for Virginia. If that was the 1 versus the 2,
I really wish Tennessee just won this SEC today and would have kind of like let me restore my faith in them.
Yeah.
After beating Kentucky on a neutral, that's pretty good. But then they go out and get kind of their doors blown off by Auburn. So I don't really know what to make of this team either.
Colgate rounding out the bracket.
Well, I don't think Colgate's got much of a shot there.
Yeah, probably.
So what are our thoughts here in this? What sticks out to you in this region?
Definitely a much better region than Duke's region. I'm looking for. I think it's going to be a really tough time for Virginia to get out of this thing. I mean, there's a lot of landmines here. It's starting in the second round. I think Ole Miss could be a real tough one. I think either Wisconsin or Kansas State or even an Oregon. There's a lot of good defensive teams in this region. It's actually very similar to last year's Virginia region. Cincinnati was in Virginia's region last year. Tennessee was in Virginia's region last year. So. If they ultimately get to, keep moving down the road, it's just a lot of defense. And I don't know. I mean, last year that didn't bode well for the defensive teams really when Nevada made a run but ultimately Loyola came out of it. What I'm saying is the defensive regions sometimes get a lot of craziness and a lot of upsets because there's a lot of lower scoring, slow paced games that bode well for the underdogs.
Yeah, and I agree. I think there's some good teams here: Purdue, Villanova, Tennessee, Wisconsin, Kansas State. But I think the double-digit C's are tough. I mean, you have St. Mary's, Old Dominion, Iowa.
I thought Old Dominion would get a 13, so they're tough 14.
This I think all around, this is kind of just like a very tough region, which is interesting because I could see it. It might be a really good region, and we still might get a lot of upsets.
Yeah, that's true. I mean. The 12 Oregon, 13 UC Irvine, 14 Old Dominion. There's really no pushovers here. I mean, and Gardner-Webb may end up being the best 16 seed in the field too. If you want to go even as far down as the 16, I mean, there's no pushovers here. You're going to have to earn your way to the Final Four. I'm not saying that there's great teams in this region, top to bottom, but there are a lot of really solid teams. I could see a lot of different teams winning
There's
this
no
thing.
easy games. I'm very interested with this Villanova Purdue pod here because St. Mary's and Old Dominion I think absolutely have a shot here, but I think it still is maybe not the toughest draw for Purdue or Villanova, two teams who we thought might be a little vulnerable.
Would you be shocked if St. Mary's was playing Old Dominion in the second round?
No, that's what I'm saying. I wouldn't, but it's also like, well, I could see it really. The problem is this is one of those where a lot will depend on the matchups, and if you don't get both of their first matchups right, you might be kind of screwed because if you say, okay, like I think Old Dominion upsets Purdue, but then is not going to have is not going to be able to beat Nova. Then okay, like let's say Old Dominion beats Purdue, but then all of a sudden we have St. Mary's beating Nova, and then all of a sudden it's like, well, I lost Nova, and who knows what's going to happen with St. Mary's, Old Dominion. So yeah, a lot to take in that one, but a good region overall.
Iowa kind of reminds me of the Nevada of this. If you want to draw comparisons to Virginia's region from last year. Iowa's kind of like the one offensive team in a field of real good defensive teams. Does Iowa have a chance of maybe making some kind of run? Tennessee's a real tough too, though, if they want to do it.
Yeah, Tennessee's interesting because they are tough too, but I also worry a bit if they're what we're going to get from them, what kind of consistent effort we're going to get from them. I don't know if Iowa has a shot here to beat Cincinnati. I mean, they're neck and neck in Ken Pom. I think. This should be a very close game. The line will probably be a pick, but will Cincinnati be able to out-physical Iowa? And then if Iowa beats Cincinnati, can they then come back 2 days later and out-physical Tennessee?
Yeah, that's tough.
Right? I think Tennessee is probably in the Sweet 16. I think Oregon's a Sweet 16 team here. They've finished the year on a complete tear. And they play a very, very good defense. They've gotten healthier. Obviously, they don't have Bol, but everybody else is healthy. They play a very slow style game. They force a lot of turnovers. They don't let you shoot threes, and they shoot a decent amount themselves. Just a good strategy of basketball. And Dana Altman, I mean, we picked Oregon to win the Pac-12 because we're like, you know what? Who the hell knows where it's going to go? Let's take the best coach, Dana Altman, and he's proven it. Winning 4 games in 4 days on neutral site, and they've won 8 in a row. I know the Pac-12 is not that great, but in terms of all the issues that Oregon has had to deal with this year, I think they're peaking at the right time.
As a Wisconsin fan, I'm worried about Oregon a lot.
I think so, and I think keep in mind too, this may have been a bowl game, but still, Oregon at Houston only lost by 4. So this team can hang. This team can hang, and even without the aforementioned bowl squared.
It seems like Alan Boston believes that Wisconsin's days are numbered in the NCAA.
Yeah, I can't really can't really disagree there.
I don't, Chris, because now I have to come swing back the other way and say this probably is going to be an extremely popular 12 over 5, and I get why, and it makes sense to, if you want to pick the 12 over the 5, take the Wisconsin, who plays the slow tempo. They've been that 5 before and they've gotten upset, but Wisconsin is really good. So let's just take it a day at a time here. Analyze.
There is that happens every year where we have a really popular upset pick and everybody's on them, and we kind of forget about the other team, and then all of a sudden, Wisconsin is up, 54-37 with like 5 minutes to go.
Right.
We're like, what are we doing?
We're gonna have a lot of unders in that region.
Allen Boston really did not like. Oh, the first half unders are going to be big too. Yeah. Allen Boston did not like Villanova 6.
Now I need to know, where is North Carolina going? Are they going to be on Duke's side or on Virginia's side? I think that's important note here. So let's see if they kind of give us the visual of where they are on the bracket. It probably should be on Virginia's side, right?
Yes, they are.
Yeah. Okay. So they're the third one. That means Gonzaga dropped all the way to the fourth one.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, they had not the greatest loss. North Carolina. I was just going to say, that is not a first half under by any means. North Carolina, Iona. That's going to be like last year. UNC played Lipscomb in the first round.
Yeah.
Although I think that game went under. Utah State, Craig.
Could this be Seton Hall, Chris?
No,
give me Seton Hall.
I don't want it. I don't want it. No, I don't want it.
Oh, I want to see Seton Hall here. So bad.
No, I think Seton Hall's going to be an 8. I think Seton Hall's going to be an 8, so I think they'll be the last 8. Come on, Craig. Give me some. I think Utah State against UNC, maybe. There's an interesting one.
It's an up-tempo game.
Oh boy. It's all waiting.
Okay.
All right, Washington.
Not Seton Hall.
Okay, not Seton Hall.
I was hoping.
I think Utah State's has got this one. I don't think I'll have to look at it again. But Washington is an interesting team too, because we if you look at the numbers, they're probably better than people think.
We were talking defense in the other region. You're going to get a lot of offense in this region.
A lot of offense, a lot of fast pace, some turnovers. But at the same time, I kind of think that this is shaping up pretty well for UNC right now, because I think that everybody in this region, UNC kind of does better what they do. So,
oh boy.
New Mexico State, they're always there. They're always trying to make you be the trendy upset pick. And have they ever won yet?
No, they never win. They could have been. They were in Auburn's pod last year, and they didn't end up getting them. Okay, there's Kansas.
All right.
I think give me a good 13 here, and I can think about it. Just allow me to think about it here.
Yeah. I think New Mexico State's got a shot here, though. But I'll have to look a little more too. Who we got here? All right, so Seton Hall is going to be in Gonzaga's pod too, which is probably maybe their best option.
Baby, Chris.
Joe, it's what we wanted. It's what we wanted.
Oh man, that's exactly the team that I wanted to see. Kansas
Northeastern money line. Lock it in. They're giving you the first lock of the tournament.
Oh man, I'm excited now.
I hope this isn't one of those what we just mentioned, everyone jumps on the upset and then
now
Iowa State Frome is a 6. A lot of Big 12 here.
You got shafted at a 6.
Yeah, I think so. Winning the Big 12. I know they ended the year low, but I mean they just killed Iowa State and wind up two seed lines lower is interesting. I got Ohio State. So Iowa State
should take care of Ohio State.
I think they should too. I don't think the Buckeyes don't really inspire much confidence for me against superior teams. I think Iowa State, they struggled to end the year, but I think coming on and winning the Big 12, that made me feel good about them again to kind of go on a run because they're really talented.
Yeah. The Big 12 performance definitely went a long way for me as well. Iowa State, let's see who this 3 is, because Iowa State could make a run here. This is a very interesting potential matchup.
Oh no,
that is tough. That is really tough. And this region again also extremely tough, just like the last one was. Wow. And judging these two against the Duke region, Duke got real cakewalk to at least
Houston, Georgia State. I don't think Houston's gonna have problems with Georgia State.
Oh, it's a power rating game, Chris. We have a line on that game.
This is big.
What do you have Houston as in your power
12.
rating?
I have 12.
12. I got Georgia State at a 3, so you got about a 9 there.
Yeah. Wofford, at a 7. Wow, that's big. That's nice of Wofford. Again, though, more offense.
Give me a week 2 in this region, and I'm gonna blow it up.
Yeah, there's gonna. I think that the we will blow it up. I think UNC is probably good to get to the Elite Eight at least. But Houston, Iowa State, Wofford, all sitting here waiting for them.
There's not really any week twos left. It's either going to be, well, I guess Michigan is kind of vulnerable. It's either going to be Michigan or Kentucky, right?
Oh no! Oh wait, how did they get a 10 seed?
Seton Hall gets the 10.
Get a 10. But honestly,
and they have to play Wofford, Chris, who I'm pretty sure Vin Lataraka told me Wofford will win a game in the tournament.
Oh, no.
Oh, this is extremely interesting.
Kentucky, the rematch with Kentucky. Could we get it?
Very interesting.
Man. I mean, wow. That kind of just blew up there.
This is exciting for me.
The Hall deserved better than that, I think.
The Hall did get shafted here, but I think this goes to show you the Big East is real. Oh, boy. Abilene Christian gets the 15. Man. Tough matchup for them, but the Big East is really getting shafted. Now you've seen Villanova get a 6, Seton Hall get a 10. This leads me to believe I think St. John's is going to be out. I think Marquette may get a 7. They did not take the Big East seriously, clearly.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm a little worried here. I have a group message with my Seton Hall fans, and everyone seems very, very happy to be playing Wofford. A little too happy. But I will say that if you look at, I mean, first of all, you wanted to avoid the 8-9 to get away from the 1, so that might actually work out in Seton Hall's favor because they are, they don't have to face a 1 seed, and they get Kentucky, a team they already beat. But I could see Kentucky have some revenge in their minds. I think that this Wofford team, though, I think Seton Hall matches up decently well against them. And I think that I would pick the Pirates here as of right now, but it's definitely not an easy game for them. Definitely a lot tougher than I was kind of hoping for, at least for the opening matchup. And I don't know. I mean, Seton Hall last week of the season beating Marquette twice and Nova and getting a 10 seed.
Oh, but like I said, Marquette and Nova not highly regarded by the committee.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And I think that's probably a good way to look at it is that the Big East is definitely – and honestly, but, I will say right now, if we're looking at the net, because Seton Hall is 58, I think that right now they're going by the net. They're going by the net. They're doing what they said. I mean, Oregon 56.
Oregon was at large now.
They're at 12.
I mean, they were an auto though. Oh, yeah. Okay, you're saying
what's going to be interesting too is okay. So if we're following the net here, and you had New Mexico State, who was maybe usually wouldn't be like a 13, they're at 40.
Right. What is Ohio State in the net?
Ohio State is 55. So that
55. Okay,
that's a little higher than I guess you would have thought. But Washington's 45. Clemson is 35 though. So right now, and
NC State is 33.
Yeah, so this bodes well for the two of them right now. Texas 38. They're lurking. Alan says Utah State got fucked. What else?
The team that we have not seen yet. The only other lock that I think we haven't seen yet that I'm expecting to see is Baylor and Syracuse.
Yeah.
Those are the two. And then we haven't seen Nevada yet. We haven't seen Buffalo yet.
I honestly kind of think we might get where is Nevada at? Sorry, Joe. It's Nevada. Okay, you can't.
Nevada.
We got dragged on Twitter for that. Nevada is 23. So honestly, my prediction here: 5-12, Nevada, Murray State. And
can we predict this region? The one's going to be Gonzaga. The two's going to be Michigan.
Do we have another playing game?
Who gets the? Yes, we do have one more playing game here. Actually, we have two more playing games technically.
Well, I mean, yeah, but another bubble playing game.
Yeah,
I think playing game.
Yeah, so that's true, Chris. We still have another playing game, which means the last two teams in have not been announced yet.
Yeah,
which means Ohio State was above that.
Yeah, I think right now
it's gonna be TCU.
I don't know. I think TCU's in trouble. I think Arizona State's done. Like I think
I agree.
Carry them. They're
done.
Yeah,
but okay. Here's your options for the last playing game: TCU, Arizona State, St. John's, Indiana. NC State, Indiana.
Yeah.
Or Chris, could Greensboro get something here?
I don't know. I think St. John's is actually done. I think we can write them off. I think they're done. Yeah, I think they're done. All right, let's before we predict it, what do you think about this region? I think this is a very good region. It can kind of. I also think Kentucky I like a lot, but having to face either Wofford or Seton Hall is tough. for your second game. Like that is
Kentucky
favors.
got no favors here at all because Houston, Iowa State, both tough Sweet 16s. UNC is a tough Elite. Yeah, no favors for Kentucky here, and I'm surprised at how many interconference potential matchups they're put. I know that sometimes it's hard to separate these teams because there's so many from the same conference coming in, but like I don't know. Like you're seeing Kansas and Iowa State in the same region, Kentucky and Auburn are in the same region. I'd like to see all those teams split up. I know that you can't really get those matchups till later on anyway.
Yeah,
so we'll see. All right, let's see this final region here. This should be Gonzaga as the 1. Let's see if it is, and this is the West, I'm guessing, right? Yeah.
Yeah, we're in the West, and so I guess avoiding the West too. That's maybe not the worst thing.
All right, so they're
interesting. But let's get back to this Gonzaga and the other 1 seed. That made sense, and you would assume that Michigan is going to be the 2 seed in this region. So we can kind of
these 16s. Who are these 16s going to be at this point?
Prairie View. It's going to be Prairie View versus like
Montana.
Is Montana? Montana could
Montana's
be
not that bad, right?
Montana could be a 15. They might be a 16. Prairie View is going to be facing somebody here in this one.
Oh, Fairleigh. I forgot about Fairleigh.
All right, Fairleigh, FDU.
FDU should win that game, but
yeah, they should. And I think Gonzaga's got. They were all ready. They knew it was coming. I think Gonzaga's. Obviously, they're not in trouble here of getting an upset. We're not going to get into that.
Who's this 8-9 going to be?
This is
Syracuse. Baylor.
Syracuse would love to be an 8-9 and just fuck with Gonzaga the next round.
Man, really though? I mean, that's.
I think Baylor should be a little higher than an 8-9.
I think I think Syracuse would be the 9 here if it was Syracuse. Oh no, they're 8. Okay.
All right, we saw it right there.
Really, I mean, they're gonna. I guarantee you, they're gonna screw Gonzaga every round here.
I don't know.
Syracuse is ridiculous. There it is, Syracuse Baylor.
All right, wow, good call there, Syracuse Baylor. I think Syracuse is probably in good shape with this game.
With that game, yeah, but I think they could beat Gonzaga, and Marquette got a 5. This makes no sense at all.
I mean, Marquette's really struggling on the stretch, and honestly, the Big East, they're like ranking people comparatively. I don't know why they're excited. The players,
Marquette is higher than Villanova.
Yeah, that's weird. I think that is definitely weird.
Makes no sense.
Yeah,
and there's Murray beat Marquette.
Murray was the 12. Yeah, I knew Murray. Yeah, Murray could definitely beat Marquette. Syracuse could. I mean, right now this region is all over the place. This I think is. I don't think it's a strong region, but I think it has the highest chance of maybe just a red all over your bracket.
So this means that the other playing game is not on the 12 line.
Yeah, it's a 13 or an 11.
It's probably on the 11, I would think. But I was guessing
so Nevada should be the 6 here.
So Florida State gets the 4, which means Texas Tech is going to be the 3. So yeah, Texas Tech,
Florida State. Yeah, Florida State's a tough one. Florida State's going to be tough for whoever. I mean, I think Florida State's isn't going to have trouble getting the Sweet 16 unless this 13 is tough. So we'll see.
They can't make a play in at 13.
They could. They did it at 14. Remember?
Yeah, they did. No.
I guess. I think Florida State's.
It's tough for Vermont because Vermont is not big at all.
Yeah, so I think Florida State's got a pretty solid path here to the Sweet 16.
Let's see. All right, Buffalo gets the 6, which means Nevada gets the 7.
Yeah, Nevada gets the 7. That makes sense. That's fair. Buffalo, I think, is going to – I think Buffalo could win this region. I mean, I don't see why not, right?
Let's see. Yeah, I mean, it's because Texas Tech gets Michigan.
It's going to be tough, but, maybe in a low possession game, I mean, Buffalo can run people out of the gym. I don't really, Buffalo, the fact that they were able to avoid some of these, like, UNC.
Wow, Chris.
God, what the hell is that?
Oh my! Which means TCU is done.
NC State done.
NC State done. Indiana done. Clemson done. Wow!
Give Arizona State and St. John's this. I mean, Buffalo's going to wipe the floor with whoever comes out of that game.
That's the plain game for me.
That's
Arizona State, St. John's.
That is embarrassing. Texas Tech to 3. Buffalo Texas Tech
second round game. Jeez, Texas Tech Buffalo.
Yeah. I know that's gonna be a good game. That'll definitely be a good game.
Wow. I didn't want to see St. John's in this bracket.
No.
I was starting to. I really was gaining hope that they were going to leave him out. There's your Norse. That's a tough one for the Norse.
Ooh, that is a tough one. I'm surprised they got a 14 actually, but that is tough.
Well, there wasn't really anywhere else for them to go at this point.
Yeah,
I mean, Montana's getting to 50.
Nevada's 7.
Who's the last 10?
Who do we got
Oh,
left?
Florida. Okay.
Oh, Florida. Okay.
I think Florida could beat Nevada.
Yeah.
There.
Oh, I think Florida could definitely beat Nevada. I think so.
And we're looking at Michigan and Montana, which is a rematch of last year.
That's true.
For
okay. All right. So there we go. We're set, and I think they don't seem very happy. I guess because they just lost to Michigan State, but
this region could get. This region is going to have some interesting.
This is a good. This is a pretty good region, though. I think it's a little,
it's good, but you could get this is a region you can get like a 7 or an 8.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I know because I think Buffalo is a live dog. It wouldn't shock me if Florida made some sort of noise here.
I agree. Florida could beat Michigan second round.
Up top in this pod, I think there's 4 or 5 teams that it wouldn't totally shock you. I mean, as much as we've shit on Murray State, I think this year, it would not surprise me if John Morant gets to the Sweet 16 at this point. I mean, it's not a terribly tough road. And then
it's going to be a trendy upset pick, which is why I don't know. I kind of wish that I didn't have to consider it. I wish that they were playing a better 5, but since
I have
they're
no faith in Marquette. Yeah. And honestly, I still would have a hard time seeing Gonzaga lose to Syracuse.
Nice. We didn't even mention this. If Arizona State beats, I'm sorry, I'm still thinking Danny Hurley's at Buffalo. I thought there was a potential Hurley matchup, but no.
Well, no, but it would be the revenge game for the state of Arizona against Buffalo. So
and
St. John's the last team in. What I don't understand is if St. John's is the last team in and Belmont is the 4th to last, why did Belmont not get to play St. John's as opposed to Temple? Not that it really matters too much either way.
I don't think that's how they do it. I think that there's – I don't know. There's other stuff.
What? St. John's is 73 in the net.
Yeah, you could have had a lot better team. I see why Arizona State got in.
But the other interesting thing too is though, if St. John's is that low in the net,
Greensboro was the first team out.
Oh, I mean, they're only 60 in the net.
I'm kind of happy that TCU was that far out. Get them out.
Alabama, surprisingly, I thought they were seemed like they were pretty safe. I don't understand if you're going to shit on the Big East this whole seeding process, and then St. John's gets in over NC State and Clemson, who play in the ACC.
NC State and Clemson weren't even considered, it seems.
Yeah,
I don't way out. Which I mean, whatever. I'm all right with that.
I mean, you look at St. John's.
I feel like if they were gonna go net, then you can't let St. John's in.
Well, the thing is, if you put, let's say, because you put Marquette at a 5, you put Villanova at a 12. St. John's did not beat higher than a 5 seed in their regular season. Marquette was, by seeding at least, the best team they beat. They also have losses to DePaul, not a tournament team, bad team.
Twice,
Butler,
right?
Twice. Butler, not a tournament team. Georgetown, not a tournament team. Providence twice, not a tournament team. Xavier twice, not a tournament team. What is the logic of letting St. John's in here?
Doesn't seem like there's much, and we were actually kind of on a good path, through 3 regions. I felt like I was kind of okay with all the teams that were in to that point, and then those last 4 in, the last 2 in, I guess I'll call them. Just blew my mind. I mean, I thought that we were getting for sure an NC State, TCU, Greensboro would have had a shot, and they put in these 2. All right. Anyway, moving past that, just wrapping up this region. I feel like a lot of craziness could potentially happen here. Gonzaga, how do you feel about them being able to navigate their way through?
I think they're okay for a little bit.
Really? You don't think Syracuse could give them that?
No, I'm really not worried about Syracuse. I think a lot of people will be picking them as an upset, but I'm not worried about Syracuse. I think Gonzaga's okay. I think they've got the shooting and the size to kind of deal with the zone. I think Baylor's got a shot to beat Syracuse too, but I think what I'm looking at right here is probably a really good Sweet 16 game versus Gonzaga and Florida State. I don't see too much craziness maybe in the top part of the region. What?
See, the thing with me is Florida State, I get why you're saying Florida State Sweet 16 because it doesn't look great there, but I don't know. There's something about Florida State to me that if we just disregard the other 3 teams in their pod and advance it. Like something's going to go wrong with Florida State. I feel like they play to their competition, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So I could see them maybe having some trouble with some of these teams, even though it looks like they should be fine.
Yeah, I mean,
I just don't want to disregard the other three here.
No, I wouldn't. And I think the thing with Marquette is now they're at the point where I think we talked about how, they could kind of get upset against anyone because of who they are and how they play. But now they're being overlooked. And now all of a sudden, like on the inverse of that, they rely a lot on 3-point shooting. Well, what if Marquette just gets hot and goes
right,
to
3-15? Yeah.
Like it's absolutely possible. So that's why you can't totally rule these teams out. And I mean, I think Murray will give them trouble. I think Murray, and I'm interested to see because against Seton Hall, I don't know an update, but Marcus Howard hurt his hand. Not the same player in the second half, and he's had trouble with the hand all year. So I think that'll be interesting to see. But if you throw Ja Morant on him, that's going to give him trouble too. So what would you have a spread of that game? I'm going to get my on my
Marquette,
phone.
Murray State game.
Yeah. So
I don't know. You're probably looking at what did you have Murray State at?
So let me look at. I think the reason why I cut out is because I tried to upload Google Drive onto my phone, and that. I'm gonna do another. I want to do one more update on my power ratings to end the season to make sure I'm all squared away. But I think Murray State right now, I have them at as 5.5 points above an average team.
That's probably going to be like a 6, maybe like 6.5
favorite. Yeah, I think it's definitely not going to be daunting.
There's going to be a lot of public money on Murray State.
Yeah, it's not an 8 or 9 seed. Yeah, that's the thing that worries me, and I might actually lean Marquette that way just to kind of fade the public in that sense. And then Vermont. I mean, what do we think about Vermont here? Like, do they have like?
I got to look at it more. The problem with Vermont is that they're small. I mean, their center is 6'6", and with the length of Florida State, that just doesn't seem like it's going to work. But
yeah,
I think that's.
I think it's a huge issue sometimes with these smaller schools. So wrapping it up here, let's get to the bottom half of the region. Then do you want to like maybe jump around a bit and just talk about some initial thoughts and see where we want to go with it?
We've always been staunchly against actually making picks on bracket night.
Oh yeah, we're not making picks. We're just giving the initial reaction, and then
and we've said all these idiots that do it. I mean, they're obviously just the fact that they're doing it right after the bracket comes out tells you all you need to know, because you literally can't pick these games without diving into the matchups.
I mean, Joe, Seth Davis has a computer in his head. He knows what he's doing.
Seth Davis probably has his whole bracket filled out already. But in the bottom half of this region, it's going to be really difficult to, in my opinion, predict who comes out of this bottom half and goes to the Elite Eight, because you have infinite possibilities here. I mean, just the potential Buffalo Texas Tech game, either one of those teams is a potential Final Four team. Nevada, they could have been a Final Four team last year. Florida could get hot. Michigan is, they're blue blood. They could get, they're the 2 seed. They're really good. I mean, there's 5 teams out of these 8, 10 if you count the play-ins, or 5 out of 9 in the bottom half of the region here that I could legitimately see in the Final Four. I mean, this bracket is, especially this bottom half of the region, is going to be extremely tough to predict before the tournament starts.
Yeah, I agree. It's going to be kind of wild. And one thing that I want to touch on, talking about the unpredictability of this region, especially the bottom half. Am I overthinking this, or is there a bit of a concern that the winner of an undeserving Arizona State St. John's matchup could knock off Buffalo? Are we totally writing them off? And then we see, think about this. So I think St. John's maybe have a little higher ceiling than Arizona State. But think about how we talked about St. John's as a team that they could either lose in the first round by 20 or they can make it to the Final Four.
Right.
Maybe that ceiling is not as high as we thought, but it's absolutely possible. Shamori Pons and company give Buffalo all it can handle.
I know. And they have the athleticism to battle with Buffalo. It's funny. Buffalo is kind of, they're in a reverse position that they were in last year.
Yeah, and I think, honestly, it's a shame because this Buffalo team has had an incredible year, and I think they're, a team that has kind of proven how good they actually are, despite the fact that maybe their resume and their schedule was not like of a power conference. They got a tough draw here. I mean, it's even if you do kind of get through Arizona State St. John's pretty easily, it's going to be really tough.
Yeah, there's landmines all over the place here. I mean,
everywhere.
just the fact that Texas Tech is their potential second-round game. I mean, there's so many better places they could have been. I would have loved to see them at the top half of this bracket as the 5 instead of the 6.
Yeah.
But
I also I love seeing people's reactions to like who the region of death is, who the best.
Who do you think the region of death is at this point?
Well, that's what I was going to ask you, and I need to get the bracket up to kind of see.
I have it in front of me. I think the region of death is.
Wait, can we agree Duke is in the easiest region?
Duke has the easiest draw, yes,
okay.
For sure. Although I think they have the toughest 2 seed, which is interesting.
Yeah,
but I think that they're the easiest remaining draw out of outside of the 1 and the 2. I think the region of death is North Carolina's region.
Okay. Damn, why do they put this font super tiny? I can't even see this friggin' bracket. So North Carolina's region is that's with Seton Hall and
North Carolina, Kentucky's the 2.
I think
Houston, Kansas, Auburn, Iowa State, Wofford's the 7, Seton Hall's the 10. Yeah, that one looks like the region of death.
Yeah, I think so. I'm going to agree. I mean, you got Utah State, Washington is an 8-9, which it's interesting too because I do think North Carolina. I would be not shocked, but I think they've got maybe not the toughest road to the Elite 8, but that's kind of based on how they play and how they match up with these teams. That you got Northeastern, New Mexico State, Utah State, all of these upset teams are very good. Auburn and Kansas obviously have the talent, some experience. I think where it gets really juicy. If Iowa State, Houston, Wofford, Seton Hall. I think Seton Hall is an interesting team, and I'm not just saying that because I'm a fan, but they are the kind of team I think that they could either just lose to Wofford and go quietly, or they could really bust some brackets because they have a guy like Miles Powell who's been there before, who has experience. They can kind of, maybe sneak up and surprise someone. The problem is they're playing Kentucky, and I think Kentucky's gotten better since they first played.
The Wofford Seton Hall game might be the game of the first round.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean,
I can't find a better matchup in the first round.
Yeah, that's good. Houston versus Iowa State. I would love to see that game. I would love to see them. Those two teams
I think
play.
Iowa State gets them, to be honest.
Honestly, it's not the best matchup for Houston. Houston got kind of shafted here, and I wonder. I mean, I know that Houston's resume is not the same as some of the other teams. With the way the net was used for this, did the Cougars have any shot at a 2 seed if they had beaten Cincinnati today? Probably not, but
their net rating was always great.
So, yeah, it's like top 5. So I think that's the region of death, and then I think.
Although, and we're saying region of death because we have to pick 1 out of 4. There is no region that will be like the Villanova region last year. I mean this quote unquote region of death here does not compare to that one. I think that these are pretty much balanced for the most part. But yes, I think it's a very balanced field. I'm looking forward to people saying Duke has the region of the death. And well, if Oriolo's saying it's easy, then I think we're out of the woods there.
We'll see. I think, and we talked about it earlier, Virginia's got a tough one. I think UC Irvine, is going to give Kansas State a really tough time without Dean Wade. I think that's a boring game. That's going to be a battle, and we could absolutely get Irvine, Oregon in the second round,
which would be another low scoring game.
Yeah, I mean a lot of unders in that region, a lot of overs in North Carolina's region,
and in Gonzaga's region.
Yeah, I guess you're right. I mean, you got Syracuse there.
I guess that one's kind of mixed. I'll take that back.
Yes. Syracuse there, Texas Tech, Michigan, Florida. Yeah. Where else do you want to jump at? What else on first thought is catching your eye?
What's catching my eye is that I can't really see myself picking anyone other than like a 1 or a 2 to get to the Final Four right now, which is like concerning me in a way.
That's hard. Let's say you're not allowed to pick a 1 or a 2 in any of the regions. Who do you pick to go to the Final Four?
And out of the entire bracket?
Yeah, in your bracket, let's say you can't pick any 1s or 2s.
I guess I would go with Iowa State.
Oh, I was going to say I meant all the regions, but
what do you mean? Yeah, I would say Iowa State. I think that they have the best shot out of anyone.
No, I meant each region.
Oh, each region. Okay, I think I'd take Iowa State out of North Carolina, North Carolina's region. Out of Virginia's region, I would probably take, and again, this is just going at first glance here. Virginia's region, I find it really tough to find anyone other than the one or the two getting there. But I guess I'll go with Nova.
Yeah, I was looking at Nova too. I think they're the one.
And then Gonzaga's region, I would say Buffalo. Although I could see Tech.
I think Tech.
Yeah, and then the Duke's region. Duke's region is going to be by far the toughest for anyone other than the one or the two.
Yeah. I think Louisville is, maybe going to make it.
By the way, Louisville and Michigan State get matched up like every year.
Yeah, and
they took a couple of years off, but now they're back.
Yeah, it's bad for the Cards too.
When Pitino used to be there, it used to be all the time. You really think Louisville could beat Michigan State? I can't see it.
No, I was more so saying like if I can't, like let's say Louisville gets past Michigan State, I think then there's some opportunity for them because who comes out?
I'll say VCU here.
Okay,
because if VCU beat Duke, it kind of opens up for them.
Yeah, exactly.
No, it's a big if, but
yeah, but it's the thing. Like if you who are they going to play? What about your? I mean, you just mentioned VCU. But what about some of your conferences that you follow? Does anybody? Because these are the conferences that we know the best. Does anybody jump out to you in terms of maybe being an upset team?
Yeah, I mean, basically, I got 6 teams in here. I got one from each of my conferences, which is kind of actually no, I got 7 because I forgot we got
2-bit OVC, baby. Let's go.
Yeah. Out of all the teams,
oh no, Arizona State got it. I was gonna say, the OVC got as many bids as the Pac-12, but sadly, they
almost. VCU is by far the best team that I've followed this year out of my conferences. But I would not sleep on Old Dominion against Purdue. I think that could be a potential like weird game where all of a sudden you look up 4 minutes to go and it's a 55-51 game, something like that.
Yeah, I'm gonna just not include the AAC because they're a bit of a bigger conference. And looking at the other ones, obviously, I think Belmont's very good. I think Nevada is still a very talented team, but they did not get an easy draw by any means. Florida and then Michigan would be the draw for them, and I don't really trust them really to do much. Utah State is definitely one of the better teams that I follow, and I think they could give UNC a fight, but I think it might just be enough for Craig to get through one win. Although Washington's not going to be the easiest one. The other teams, Northeastern, I'm picking Northeastern over Kansas. I'm saying it right now. I think Northeastern's very good, and Kansas is definitely not daunting to me. And I think Northeastern, I think may be my favorite under the radar team that I follow in conferences. I think John Brand and Northern Kentucky got a bit of a tough draw against Texas Tech. And then they would have to play Buffalo. Probably.
Yeah, they're in a really difficult section of the bracket.
Yeah, they kind of had a tough time there. And then the Summit League, I just said North Coast State is going to be, I think they win a play-in game if you want to bet on that.
What do you think Duke beats them by?
Duke beats them by 34, let's say.
All right.
On a neutral.
Kansas, Northeastern, if they beat Kansas, how do you think? What about that pod in general? How do we feel about Auburn? And we gotta wrap this up shortly because I got a fantasy baseball draft coming up in 5 minutes.
Oh, okay.
But how do you feel about the Kansas Auburn pod and Auburn after winning the SEC? Do we have new life?
I worry a bit if that's like false hope.
Yeah.
If you look at what Auburn did to get there, I mean, they kind of scratched by Florida. They had an easy second-round game against South Carolina, and they beat Tennessee, and they show what Auburn can do on a great night. But I'm just not really sure that we're going to get the most consistent effort from this team. I mean, again, if you look at coaching-wise, Bruce Pearl, I don't really doesn't really do much to me. I think Auburn, honestly, it would not shock me if they followed the pattern they did last year, where they have a tough time against the upset team like New Mexico State, Charleston it was last year, and then they get to the next round playing against whoever they would get there. I guess it would either be Kansas or Northeastern. Maybe Northeastern doesn't blow them out, but I think Kansas, could. So I'm not trusting Auburn yet. And again, I still think that as tough as that region is, UNC has a pretty easy pass to the Elite Eight.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that you got a bunch of teams in that region that UNC they're not going to stop UNC from playing UNC's game. I mean, Auburn's going to run with them. Kansas is going to run with them. Utah State even would run with them. Like, you needed, if you're going to beat UNC, you got to really D up and you got to make them play half court, and none of those teams are going to do that. So it's going to be tough to beat UNC up there.
Yeah, honestly, I think, and depending on what happens in the bottom half of the region, I mean, I think UNC would probably rather see an Iowa State or a Wofford than a
they don't want to see Houston
or a Houston. I think what I've learned kind of about some of these really good offensive teams is the defense is going to neutralize.
Oh, Chris, we got a Clark Kellogg Final Four prediction here.
Oh, there we go. Just Houston.
Duke, Gonzaga, Virginia, and Houston.
Oh, well, thanks, Clark. I mean, I guess these people got to do this. It's part of their job.
They're getting paid to do it.
You can't really blame them. So, wish we were getting paid to do this, but that's okay. I still enjoy it.
You got to feel for Montana. 2 straight years having to play Michigan.
I know, but I don't.
We drilled an under in that first round game last year. So
you know what, Joe? We're going to be drilling some unders this year, and I'm very excited for the spreads to come out. When do you think they'll come out?
They come out instantly. Give it a half hour, they'll be out.
All right. Well, if they come out that quickly, it may be time to jump on those first half unders right away.
Yeah, I know. All right. Yeah, that will do it for this edition of the Sports Brunch. Everyone who tuned in live, thank you so much. But this will also be available after the fact as well. We'll release it as a podcast, which we usually do anyway. So that'll be up. And then we will pick our brackets officially in our final podcast before Thursday. That'll be released Wednesday morning. You'll be able to hear exactly who we are picking to go to our Final Fours and win a national championship. Chris, any final words before we sign off tonight?
Go, baby. We're here.
We're here. We made it. We'll see you again on Wednesday. For now, enjoy picking those brackets. Make sure you sign up for the Brunches bracket pool. We will tweet out the link from our Twitter account. Follow us on Twitter at The Brunch Pod for that and a lot more. We'll see you again Wednesday. Have a great beginning to your week, everybody.